All right, hi guys. We are going to start this lesson on multiplying fractions by using cross-canceling. Now, in order to be successful in this class, you have got to be able to use cross-canceling as a method of multiplying fractions. The old way of multiplying just straight across no matter what and then simplifying is going to take too long in order to do the problems that we'll have to do this year. So I'm going to show you cross-canceling, which is basically a shortcut and makes your numbers a little bit smaller and easier to work with. So here's an example. Let's take 2/3 times 3/5. Okay, very simply, I'm going to do the straight across method first just to show you how this would work if you did it the old way. The old way says multiply 2 times 3. That's your numerator. Multiply 3 times 5. That's your denominator. And then simplify. 6 and 15 are both divisible by 3. And it's kind of obvious they're both divisible by 3 because right here when we multiplied the top by 3. We also multiplied the bottom by 3. So of course 3 is a factor of both of these. So then we go and we divide by 3 and we get 2/5 as our answer. That's the old way. I don't want you doing that anymore. From now on, what I want you doing is cross-canceling. I'm going to take the same problem, and cross-canceling says that we look diagonally. We look at the numbers that are diagonal from each other. For example, 3 and 3 are diagonal. So are 2 and 5. We're just taking one at a time. 3 and 3 are diagonal. If you could simplify 3/3, in other words, if they have a similar factor you could divide out, you do that, and that's cross-canceling. We're canceling across, sort of. So 3 and 3 are both obviously divisible by 3, so we divide both of them by 3. And we replace that 3 with the answer, which is 1. We replace this one with 3 divided by 3, which is 1. We also look at the other two that are across from each other. 2 and 5. 2/5 couldn't be simplified. They don't have any common factors, so we can't do anything with them. So just to make this, clean this up, you won't have to do this. I'm going to rewrite the problem so it looks a little neater. Now we have 2/1, because we changed that 3 to a 1, times 1/5. And now we multiply straight across like we did earlier. 2 times 1 is 2. And then 5 times 1 is 5. And if you do all the cross-canceling correctly, you don't have to simplify. Okay, and it works much, much faster. All right, so let's take another problem like that. They don't have to be the exact same number. Let's take 3/8 times 4/9. Okay, so we look across on a diagonal. I'm going to look at the 8 and the 4 first. Both 8 and 4 have a common factor of 4. That's the biggest one. You always want to pick the greatest common factor. So 4 is the biggest number that goes into both of those. So I'm going to divide this 4 by 4. That's going to give me a 1, and I'm going to replace it with a 1. Also have to divide the 8 by 4. It's like simplifying. 8 divided by 4 is 2, so I'm going to replace that 8 with a 2. Now I'm going to look across this way as well. 3 and 9 both have a common factor of 3. That's the greatest common factor. So I will divide this 3 by 3. That gives me 1. And I'll divide the 9 by 3. And that gives me 3. So again, I'm going to rewrite it just so it's clear to you. You don't have to rewrite it every time. I've got a 1/2 here times a 1/3 here. And now I multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6, and I'm done. Cross-canceling makes multiplying move a lot faster, more efficiently, and you're going to need to know how to do that for the problems we'll be working this year. Let's do one more example. This will be the last one. Let's take 4/7 times 14/6. Okay, so we'll look diagonally. It doesn't matter which diagonals you start with. We'll look at 7 and 14. Greatest common factor of 7 and 14 is 7. They both have a factor of 7. So this by 7 gives me 1. I'll divide this by 7 gives me 2. Now I'll look at the other two, 4 and 6. Greatest common factor of 4 and 6 is 2. They're both divisible by 2. So I'm going to divide them both by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then I just multiply straight across. I have a 2 times 2 on the top. That's 4 on the top. And I have a 1 times 3 on the bottom. So my denominator is 3. 4 over 3 is your answer. Again, like before, normally you can leave this as your answer. Improper is okay as long as it's simplified. If you needed a mixed number, remember, you had to do this on a previous video. You do how many times 3 goes into 4. How many whole times does 3 go into 4? Goes in 1 whole time. And the leftover becomes your numerator. So the remainder when I divide 3 into 4 is 1. And your denominator, 3, is the same. So 1 and 1/3 is the same as 4/3. Okay, and that's how you cross-cancel the multiply fractions.